session which we have basically created, designed for our young learners. So before I go with the uh, topic which I have prepared to deliver, I thought that just you shall have little introductory remark from my side. That would be little a proper way to initiate. So, uh, as you know, my name is Anurag Singh, and I'm with the Jaipur campus, and I've got more than 2 decades of teaching experience to the students of postgraduate and the PhD level programs. And I have some corporate experience in the beginning, and the area which normally I dwell with, that is finance, taxation. And so today I'm going to open up talk on the basic economics. And let me tell you one thing, that the management study is uh, integrative in nature. Remember this thing forever. So when I say it's integrative in nature, so you're not going to operate in silos that, well, probably I'm going to be a man of this domain, or I'm going to be a person of this kind of a specialization. And that's the whole reason why when we design the program across the globe, if you really see the curriculum of a management program, so normally 2 years management program, it has basically first year, all the subjects are taught to everybody, just to give you a good hang of the different verticals which you will find in any business environment. Of course, second year you dwell deep into the area which you have decided that, well, this is the area where you want to develop your expertise. So why I'm saying so, because don't get into become a victim of that, well, I'm going to study this course or this discipline as a discipline of my choice, but probably other discipline are not my area of interest, so I would be not be treating them at par. Not a good idea. Another thing, management program is a management program. As I said, I've got a experience of more than 2 decades of teaching. I've seen a lot of students, and it has been life-changing incident for them. And let me tell you, I've seen people from tier 2, tier 3 cities, just they leverage this opportunity of 2 years, and they are today across the globe. At least I think 30% of my students, they are working outside, doing exceptionally well. So that is the power of the management program. But it's all in your hand. How you're going to use these 2 years, it's going to be a life-defining, say, the time. So try to make best of it. So with these opening remarks, I'm just going to start with this topic on economics. And so I try to bundle it up in my couple of presentations. So today, let's see, I'm going to do presentation of 2 parts, and in case time permit, three presentations are there. I will just quickly be running through it. It's essentially on the elementary economics. And don't get bogged down by it. I'm not going to make it very complicated. I'm going to keep it as simple as possible so that a person who is from a non-commerce background, probably that person can also understand. So just get rid of any kind of a thing that, well, probably I never studied this subject, so I would not be in a position to do a justice with it. Is it okay? I hope this premise is good. So very elementary thing in the economics. What does it mean for a layman? Because I understand the group of audience over there, it's basically very heterogeneous. They're not from the same discipline. They studied very different subjects. Some may be engineers, some may be people from the, say, BBA, probably some may be from BCom, but probably not very comfortable with the subject. Many may be from the humanities, the hotel management, and so on, life sciences. So that, keeping that thing in mind, I have prepared this thing. So let's start. And so I'm going to, my first presentation is based on the very elementary thing that what is this economics? Let me tell you, just you have to visualize few things. Just imagine that economics is basically a kind of a simple mechanical machine consisting of a lot of small parts which basically moves in a regular pattern, and then they repeat this pattern over the period of time regularly, million of time, zillion of time. So if you start with this understanding, then certainly it's going to help you that it's a mechanical machine which repeats its function many times over the period of time. And so what I'm trying to give you an idea that it is basically, it follows a pattern. It's not as if, well, something out of blue would come. It is, we can just see that, we can observe that well, this has happened, probably next phase is this has happened, next phase is this. And I'm going to explain you with the help of uh, three factors or three premise I have, or three construct or three variables I have just designed. And these three variables are basically like this. So I will be explaining you my whole discussion with the help of three important constructs, three important factors or variables, or say features, whatever you call it. I don't want to bog you down with the very complex nomenclature. One is your productivity growth. So I will explain you what does it mean. Another is your short-term debt cycle. Debt, you understand? When we borrow money, we call it debt. When you take the money on credit, we call it debt. So one is the productivity growth, another is short-term debt cycle, and third one is long-term debt cycle. So whole discussion is on these three important elements. Now, next thing which I'm going to do is I have just superimposed these three construct one over each other, and the picture which has emerged is something like this. So along the x-axis, you could see time is there. Along the y-axis, you can see the growth or a GDP. That is a measure of economic progress, growth that has been placed. Then this linear line which is going upward, that is basically the productivity growth. Dark line which has gone from one full wavelength, that is long-term debt, and the zigzag line which is tracing the path of long-term debt, that is nothing else but the short-term debt. If you can understand, so if you haven't fallen asleep so far, then I can assure you rest of the topic is going to be a cakewalk for you. So this was the most complicated thing which you should bear in your mind, because rest of the things would be hinging on it. So let's start with a very fundamental thing, which basically forms the DNA of a subject, and that is called transaction. We all have been to a transaction. It's not new for us. We all understand what is transaction. Let's try to see exactly what is it. So whenever we do a transaction, we need two people at least. So one is buyer, another is seller. Buyer certainly he has an intention to buy something which he is looking for, something which he wants. So he's going to offer you in return. And the seller who has produced something to offer, he is going to uh, sell his merchandise or whatever he is offering. And of course, when buyer has to buy, he has to offer something. In earlier time, initial stages of civilization, of course, there was a system of a barter. There was no concept of a money. But later on, of course, now when you buy something, instead of offering some other goods or commodities, you offer money. So let's see exactly what buyer is doing. So buyer is basically offering the thing, and when the money goes to the seller and the product or goods or services, whatever you were looking for, it comes to you. We say that, well, transaction is complete. Now let's move on. Let's see exactly what buyer is offering. We have to be little careful. Just try to see these illustrations. And So buyer is offering money, and along with money, there is one more thing that is called, I hope, credit. Right? So what is credit? I will let you know. I mean, we are just holding it for a while. Definitely, we are going to come to that. That what is credit. But of course, whatever you are paying, that is basically a mix of. It could be all 100% money. It could be 100% credit. It could be basically a blend of both. And see what the seller is offering to us. He's offering us goods. He may offer us services. He may offer us some kind of a financial assets. Say, suppose you want to buy bonds, you want to invest into stock, you want to invest into, say, fixed deposits, right? So these are the things which is in offering. And how you are going to have it? You are going to have it by paying in terms of either the hard cash money, or you can borrow the money and then pay. So that is all credit about. So when I say that, well, a buyer is buying and in return he's offering something. So what he has offered, that is basically money, that is something of his own, and something which he has borrowed in order to purchase something which he wants to, that is called credit. Some total of this, we call it total spending. Remember it, this thing, spending, we are, you going to, these terms we are going to come and use very often: money, credit, spending. So just remember. So what is the spending? Basically means that the total of money, or plus the total of money and credit, which is basically used to buy goods or services. Remember, this is very important statement. It's not money which drives the economy. It's not only the credit which drives the economy. What drives the economy? That is the spending. And what is this spending? Spending is basically a mix of both credit as well as your money. And so in rest of the lecture, you will be finding that I will be coming again and again, and I will try to reimpose every time that the phases where the spending are more, perhaps you would see the growth of economy. The phases in which spending has gone down, you will see that the economy has shrunk. Right? So remember this whole construct, this statement is very powerful, that it's a total spending which drives the economy. Let's move on, try to understand what is it. So next thing which is there, that is prices. So our total spending, if we divide it by the total quantity of the goods or services we have to offer, then it will give us the price. So I hope this is a very simple understanding. The total spending you have to do, total price you're going to pay divided by the total quantity of the goods, services, commodities, right? So that will give you the prices. So this understanding, I hope, is now there with you, that what is transaction and who are the parties involved in transaction. One is certainly the buyer, another is certainly the seller, and of course buyer pay something, seller offers in return something. So whatever amount is paid, that is called total spending, and then total quantity which has been offered. And so if you divide total spending by total quantity, we will get to know what are the prices or what is the price. Now here, there's another thing that, so once you pay the thing, the transaction is over. And transaction is the building block of the economic machine. Remember, economy is a simple machine made up of simple parts, repetitive in nature. Let's come again. So all the cycles and all the forces in an economy, they are driven by the transaction. So when I say that it is a DNA of economics is transaction, so basically the whole economics is basically made up of a series of transactions. So if we can understand transaction, we can definitely understand what is economics. Now again, very interesting thing. Let's define market. So we know that we often go to market, not during these times, but certainly we all have been to market. And market consists of all the buyers and all the sellers who are making transactions for the same thing. Remember, market consists of buyers, it consists of sellers. What they are doing there, they are making transactions for the same thing. This is again important. If you really delve deep into the subject, then I will be telling you that, well, market do not consist of only buyers and sellers. They also consist of the price makers. So you just go and ask, well, what is the price? basically you're doing something very important. But of course, you will learn more of that in a coming time. So market is a place where you will find buyers and you will find sellers. They are there to make transactions for the same thing. It means market may be different for different commodities. For example, economic economy, the total economy, maybe economy of a country, region, or say whole world, it is basically a blend of big potpourri of different markets. It could be a wheat market, it could be car market, it could be a stock market, it could be oil, it could be fish market, cheese, and so on. All markets put together, it gives you the whole idea of like comprehensive idea of that economy. I hope so far things are okay. It's clear in your mind. So if we add up the total spending that is going to happen in all these markets, maybe oil market, cheese market, grain market, fish market, fruit market. So total spending which has been carried out, if you divide it by the total quantity of goods and commodities that is sold, so that is basically going to give you an idea of the well, where the economy stands. Again, when we say transaction, so transaction happens between buyer and seller. So far, we just we visualize that well. It's basically the human beings which are interacting, Homo sapiens. Not always necessary. You see, government government bodies, institutions, they also transact with each other. Banks, multinational corporations, financial institutions, they also involved into transactions. So it's not as if the transaction would happen only between the two individuals. It can happen between the two entities as well. Let's move on. So again, you could see in this slide that, well, there's an exchange of, say, goods and services, and money is changing hands, and this is how the transaction happens. Next thing, something important. Now let's move to the little next level. The biggest buyer and the seller is, of course, the government, which consists of the two important components. One is the central government, and what is the role of a central government? It collects the taxes and it spends the money. And why it collects the taxes? Because it has to manage its expenses. What kind of expenses normally government does? It carries out a lot of things for the welfare of the people, its citizens. So one important component in the say government is the central government, and another important component, which is perhaps the most important for the students or the people who have some interest in economy, that is called the central bank. That is RBI in our case. Now let's try to understand exactly what is it. What is the role of a central government? It collects taxes. That forms the major part of its revenue, its earnings. And what it use the taxes for? It use it for basically spending to carry out the public welfare, social security, defense, say your justice, financial institutions, education, healthcare, shipping, and so on. Let's try to understand the role of a central bank, which is very important for us. Central bank, you can visualize RBI, that is the central bank for us. What is its role? It plays very important role. The role of the central bank is different from regular buyer and seller because it controls. Now remember this thing, what I'm saying. The role of central bank is different from buyers and sellers because it controls the amount of the money as well as the credit that will be there in an economy. Now, how it will control the amount of the money, how it will control the amount of credit in an economy. So it has two important tools. One tool is the interest rate. So it can increase the interest rate, it can decrease the interest rate as the situation calls for. And accordingly, it will create a small control over the flow of a credit. It has another important role of printing money. So it can print money, and of course, that's what I said, that well, its role is basically to control the amount of money and the credit in an economy. And how it does that? By influencing the interest rate and printing the new currency, new money. So for these reasons, the central bank is an important player in the flow of a credit. So if credit creation has to happen, central bank has to play an important role. So how the credit is created? By the intervention of a central bank, and essentially by monitoring the interest rates. Let's move on. So let's try to understand what is this animal which we have created called credit. Now, credit is the most important part of the economy, perhaps the least understood, and it is most important part because it is biggest and the most valuable. Remember this when I am saying it is biggest and most valuable. So in coming slides, I will be telling exactly what do I mean by that. Okay. Then comes, just like the buyers and sellers, they go to the market to make transaction. Now try to understand this. When we were discussing market, the place where the transaction happens, you will find buyers, you will find sellers. There are other set of people you will find in the market. One could be the lender, another could be the borrower. A lender means the person who is ready to give money, lend money. Why? Perhaps he wants to make more money. And how is going to get more money? In the form of an interest. So he's ready to give the money, what we normally call in loose term loan. Then who are the borrowers? The people who borrow the money. By the way, why one need to borrow the money? Perhaps you want to buy something which you cannot afford from your current earnings, current income. For example, you want to buy a car, you want to buy a house, you want to go for a higher education, right? So you need money, although your income do not support your current spending, but you want to increase your current spending, and then the only way is that you go and borrow. So when I say you go and borrow, perhaps you look out for a credit. So I'm gradually coming to that. So try to understand. So as I said, in the market, it's not only the buyers and sellers. There are another set of kind of a people who also do buy and sell, but they do not deal with the normal commodities. They deal with the money, right? So there is a lender. Lender is interested in lending the money with this hope, this anticipation that he will make more money after some time when the money would be returned. Borrower, he is eager to to take loan, borrow money because his current income is not sufficient enough to meet his requirement, right? So he feel that, well, today I will borrow and I will use this money by spending it, and perhaps later on I will be in a position to pay back. So this is how basically this credit is created. So see here, the borrower, he may be interested to buy a house for himself or a car for himself or want to invest somewhere. So he would borrow with this tacit understanding that, well, in coming time, that means in the future he will be returning. Of course, when he will be returning the money, he's not going to return the amount which he had borrowed. He's going to return something little more. That something little more is called interest, in which really the lender is interested or he was interested. Now try to understand this dynamic. If interest amount is low, interest rates are low. Now see here in the backdrop, just remember central bank is playing very important role. So if the rates they have been kept low, then certainly the lender will be charging lower interest rate. Lower interest rate means you borrow today and later on you pay with little extra money. Whereas it is going to tempt a lot of people, and you will find a lot of people are interested in borrowing money. So they will all be rushing to the lender to have money. But if interest rates are high, they are more, they are not very friendly, then certainly there will be few takers for that. Of course, when you pay back to your lender, of course your transaction is settled. Let's see exactly what I have penned down over here. So when the borrowers promise to repay and the lender believes them, credit is created. See the title statement. It is very popular statement in terms of economics or in finance that you can create credit out of thin air. It's just a trust. It's mainly a trust followed by collateral, right? So you can create a credit out of thin air. So when the borrower promises to repay and the lender believes them, credit is created. Any two people can agree to create credit out of thin air. Now, because When a borrower receives the credit, he is able to increase his spending, as I already explained. And remember, if he is basically increasing the spending, and if you remember the earlier statement that it's the spending that drives the economy. So this, so one person's spending becomes the other person's income. Now, every dollar you spend, someone else is going to earn that. And every dollar you earn, it is certainly somebody else's spending. So when you spend more, someone else will earn more. Remember this thing, we will be coming back. Now let's come to another very interesting thing. So again, let's visualize the market where there is a another kind of a borrower and a seller. They are basically the lender and the borrower. Now, borrower who intend to borrow or who had borrowed money in the past, and in case he is in a position to pay back the principal along with the interest without flouting any terms and condition. So what he has done, if he does so, if he pay back in time along with the interest without any say fail of a payment of a say EMIs or something, certainly he has established his credentials, and there will be all lenders who will be there in that market, they will be willing to offer money to him. So when a lot of people are willing to offer money to you, you can say that, well, you have a good credit worthiness. Now, so good credit worthiness or a credit worthy borrower, so what are the features? How one can become a good credit worthy? What are the silent feature of a borrower where we can say that, well, he has a lot of good credentials and he has a credit worthiness associated with him? Basically, it comes from two different things. Suppose you earn more, your income is more than the debt burden you have. Debt burden, you understand, the amount which you have borrowed in the past, and now you have to repay along with the principal as well as along with the interest. So if your earnings are more than what you have to pay back, certainly we can easily figure out that you will always be in that position. If you are earning more than your debt burden, certainly you will be in a position to pay back your debt. So of course, this adds to your credit worthiness. At the same time, what are the collaterals at your disposal? The collaterals means the security. It could be in the form of some assets, it could be in the form of financial assets also. So, and why these collaterals are important? It is important that suppose there is a situation where your income goes down and your debt burden is high. So income is insufficient to pay off your debt. In that case, your assets, the collateral, they can be converted into easy cash, and then they will be used, that cash will be used to settle the borrowing. So if that is there, then certainly if these two elements are there, we would say that, well, this borrower is basically credit worthy. He is worthy of being given a credit. So this I have already explained. I hope we should move on. Now there is another interesting thing. So we started with the transaction, we started with the borrower and the lender, then we started with the role of central bank, the role of say how this how what are the features of a credit worthy borrower. Now there is another thing, another dimension to it. Whenever, and I said credit can be created out of thin air, but the moment credit is created, there is simultaneously we also create a debt. Now let's try to understand what is this debt. So again, let's go back to that example where there is a lender and then there is a borrower. The moment the borrower borrows the money, automatically he creates a liability. And what is this liability? Liability is to pay back the money which he has borrowed. Again, the moment the lender has given the money to the borrower on the credit, automatically he has created an asset, right? Which kind of asset? Asset in the form of a loan which he has given and which he is going to realize in the coming time. So this is very important thing. So the moment that transaction happens, that too in the terms in form of a credit, then certainly automatically debt is also created. They are basically representing nothing different but assets and liability. Let's move on. Of course, once the borrower pay back certainly we can say the transaction is complete. Now let's move on to the next level. Moment the lender gives the money to the borrower, borrower would certainly be in a position to spend more than what he has been earning. And and again remember, it is the spending which drives the economy. Your spending is going to be someone else's income. So when you are spending more, somebody else's income is going to get more. And if he can also borrow something, his total spending will be more than what he has earned, because that his spending would be basically a function of whatever he has earned plus whatever he could borrow. Let's move on to the next thing. I hope so. Increased income allows increased borrowing. Remember this. So if your income is increasing, you have better credentials, you have better credit worthiness, you can borrow more. Financial institutions will be ready to offer you more money. You can spend, your credit card will have more drawing power. So increased income would lead to increased borrowing, and increased borrowing would lead to increased spending. And this is a spending which drives an economy. So remember these things. And of course, it would go to the next level. So your increased spending will become increased income of next person. And then with increased income, he can also borrow more. And then again, his further spending will also go up. And this is how kind of a spiral, upward spiraling kind of a trend would come in the force. Spending drives the economy. That is perfectly all right. So increased spending, your increased spending is basically somebody else's income, as I have been explaining, and so on. This just in the form of this say illustration. See here. So there is somebody has his income. Now with increased income, he can borrow a little more. So his total spending would be the income plus the borrowing. His spending will become somebody else income. Now he can also borrow a little more and he can spend the more. And this is how you will find whole chain of a spiraling cycle will emerge, which is basically will drive the economy. And you will see that, well, in an economy there are cycles, and cycles which are basically moving upward or downward. So far, I mean, we were just discussing about the cycles which were going in an upward direction. So nice to see you back. I'm going to share the another screen, that is the presentation 2. Let's see what is there on the title, that the economy with the credit grow faster. So remember this. So we are going to cover that the economy where we have a lot of credit, they potentially grow faster than the economy where there is no credit. Let's try to understand this thing. Again, so in a transaction, you have to give something in order to get something. This is what quite clear to us. Now, how much you will get, it all depends how much you produce, what you have to offer, right? So let's move on. Now, again, let's discuss now the productivity growth. Remember these 3 figures which we started in the first slide, first presentation. Now, our productivity growth is basically the function of the accumulated knowledge, whatever we have learned, how we are going to monetize that. And that is going to increase or improve our living standard. We call this productivity growth. And those who are very inventive, hardworking, do a lot of innovations, and then monetize that, they raise their productivity, and their living standard also goes up very fast in comparison to the people who are complacent, lazy, dull. But remember, this line is steep going upward, which is basically representing the productivity growth. But as per the studies, the productivity growth do not impact the economy in a short run. In a long run, perhaps it may impact, but in a short run, it has no big role in increasing the economy or expanding the economy or pulling it down. In long run, certainly it has its impact. Now let's move on. So the people who are innovative, hardworking, monetize their innovations, they work, they make they are more productive and in comparison to the people who are less productive. And as I said, that productivity matters in a long run, not in a short run. But again, what is very important, that credit. Now, credit matters in a short run. And the period during which there is a more credit available, interest rates are low, you can easily borrow decent amount. With a decent borrowing, you can improve or increase your spending. In those time, those phases, you will see that economy is expanding. Then there is a duration or the spell comes or the phase comes where you have to reduce your spending because you had borrowed money in the past and now it's a time to pay back. So you earn more, but you spend less. And that is the time how this you see the second phase of this long-term debt line. Basically, it is representing that the economic growth would be slowing. So if we have this idea in mind that, well, uh, economy will grow if we produce more, or economy will not grow or it will contract if we produce less. It's not true. Basically, it's what is impacting is the availability of a credit. And remember, this zigzag line which is tracing the long-term debt, that's very, very critical here. This is representing short-term debt. It's a short-term debt which matters a lot. And what is short-term debt? Nothing else but a creation of a credit. So when you can borrow easily from the market. Duration of a short-term debt cycle is basically 5 to 8 years. And on the contrary, the duration of a long-term cycle, that is from 75 to 100 years, right? So this is how they are. And this whole, the difference in the basically the duration is itself basically has a very, very important role to play in and to study the expansion or a contraction of economy. So it's not an innovation which drives the economic growth. Essentially, it is the availability of a credit which drives the economic growth. Let me see how much we can have, 3 4 minutes. So we see a lot of swings there, and these swings are basically, one swing is for the short-term borrowings, and another swing is for the long-term borrowing, the bigger one. And in a shorter span of time, short-term borrowing, that is a credit which we create depending upon the interest rates which are there in the economy, they basically drives the economy. Let's move on to the another thing. Imagine an economy without credit. Now this is an interesting thing. So as I have been telling you, spending drives the economy. And how this spending increases? It increases because when you earn, and along with that, your increased earning helps you to borrow more. And with the increased earning and with increased borrowing, you can spend more. And this, your spending will become somebody else's income. That person will again be in a position to borrow a little more. And then his total spending will certainly be more than yours, the money you spent. This is how it will go. Now let's for a while imagine a hypothetical situation, because current time doesn't happen. Imagine an economy where there is no credit. Now how this economy will grow? Now the economy will grow in a that kind of economy where there is no credit. It will be growing only on the basis of how much you produce. So if you are producing more, then only your income will go up and your spending will go up. So if you are spending and then your spending is going to reach to somebody else who can produce better than, much more than you, then certainly we can say that economic growth will happen. And then again we will see that there is a spiraling upward kind of a cycle that will come in the form. So, but in real life, this is not required. In real life, we are there, we can borrow. And then borrowing certainly give a lot of momentum push to the spending. And since we borrow, we have a lot of cycles. I guess that I've left with only 2 minutes. And so this is another thing, just I wanted to tell you that why we borrow. It's a human nature. It's basically we want to see. There was a time your parents, your grandparents, perhaps they lived in a very different time. So throughout the life they would have been earning, working, and later phase of a life probably they will buy a house from their whole life saving. On the contrary, which is going to happen with you also. Most of you are going to, I'm going to stop it first of all. So most of you are going to get your own car or your own vehicle or house, I think in the next 3, 4 years. The moment you are out with your, say, program degree and you started your jobs, you will, the first thing that will be there in your mind to have your own car, have your own house, and so on. Is it really possible? Because you have just started earning. It's just the beginning of your career. Is it really possible? Yeah, very much possible, because a lot of financial institutions are there and they are ready to lend you the money. So this, and certainly if you are basically creating a demand, then certainly the car manufacturers, they also understand that, well, there's a big chunk of people, they are going to put a demand for a car. So they will also be doing a kind of a more manufacturing. More manufacturing means more employment. So it's again a kind of a very virtuous kind of a circle is there, which will come into a motion and keep moving up and up. So I think I have to stop. My time is up. I would request admission team if they can give me one more session, so that at least one more session, so that at least I can complete the whole thing, because I'm somewhere in the mid of a short-term debt cycle. And so I have to complete that. And even the long-term debt cycle is there. Then we will be going through the different phases of the economy, say what is the inflation, then the recession, then the deleveraging. So these are the things which is important. So any question? I think I'm ready to take some questions. If you have, let me see. Okay, so there is a lot of questions out there. Just a minute. Okay, after this pandemic, what would be the first thing government should do to stabilize the economy? Okay, so I think government should do. So first of all, government shall uh, try to facilitate that, well, shall try to go back to the same pace with which it was basically moving on. Nishtha Ora, she has asked this question, that what the government shall do after the government has already started. And see this morning, Prime Minister Modi, when he said that, well, that the people who are poor, daily wage earner, perhaps he is very concerned about them, and perhaps some kind of a relaxation will be offered to the people who are from that community, as long as they are in a zone which are safe, so that some economic activity shall start, say, happening. Then then there is a question from Mr. Abhishek Shrivastava. Sir, does insurance sector make impact on economy? Yeah, of course, that is also spending. See, there is a one important factor which guides our action. That is the uncertainty. So this whole insurance sector, it basically thrives, survives, and grow on this factor of uncertainty. It could be any kind of uncertainty. It could be health uncertainty. It could be the financial uncertainty. And of course, in order to save yourself, protect yourself, you take the insurance cover and you pay the insurance premium. So of course, insurance sector has been there for centuries. In India, of course, it's not that old, but certainly in the Western economy, and especially it all started from the UK when they were basically having a fight with the Irish people. So that was a time almost 200 years back. They all started. Okay, can we get the presentation? I will see exactly how it can happen. Ronak Bhandari, as he hasn't taken a loan his entire life, so he does advise the same to me. Okay, or maybe he's speaking of somebody from his family. See, remember Mr. Ronak. So this question is interesting, really. That perhaps you are referring to your parents, that as he hasn't taken a loan his entire life, so he does advise the same to me. See, loan is not bad. Remember, I'm a finance teacher. I get my bread and butter teaching these courses. So I would say that, well, loan is not bad. What is bad, that in case if you, there is a phrase in an English, you're biting more than what you can chew. So if you're biting more than what you can chew, you have borrowed something which is very difficult for you to pay back, then perhaps it will be a problem. But as long as you can pay back in a reasonable period of time, and of course, see, remember, whenever you borrow with this understanding that in coming time you have to repay. So right now you are earning less, but you want to spend. That's why you're borrowing. But in future, when you will earn more, but you have to spend less in order to repay the whatever the money you have borrowed in the past. So you have to follow some discipline. Then another important thing, what you're going to do with this borrowing. So if you're borrowing today, taking the money on credit, are you going to put it, consume it, or are you going to invest it? Again, that's a very important, simple question. So if you're going to invest it, perhaps it is going to earn something for you, help you to reduce your burden, reduce your debt burden. For example, you purchase a house, right? Now, you decided to live over there. Now, is it really a kind of a investment or a consumption? Leaving it to you, it all depends. The answer varies from person to person. But suppose you invested in this house with this intent that, well, you will be giving it on a rental and it's going to earn something for you, or a capital appreciation, and over the period of time, again, you can sell it off. And if you see that, well, if this is the case, then certainly it was an investment. But in case if you moved into that house and decided, well, my next 4 generations are going to stay here only, then it's a consumption. It's not going to earn anything for you. So you have to be a little mindful of it exactly. Whatever you are spending, where you are spending, and whether this is a basically investment or it's a consumption. Another question, Mr. Aditya Dhanraj. Sir, I have a question that if a person have great amount of debt and also face a major loss economically, would he be able to recover? And if yes, what will be the measure? Okay, so normally, rather than an individual, see, let me tell you, uh, as long as the individual is concerned, it's all difficult to say, give a straight answer, because it all depends what are the collaterals or the assets this individual has. But as far as the some big companies or corporates are concerned, I can give the answer. So normally what happens, that there is a concept of a debt restructuring. So the financial institutions or a bank from where you have taken this borrowing, you have taken the money, they see that, well, you are in a distress situation, and perhaps if uh, appropriate hand holding is not done in a due course of a time, perhaps it would be very detrimental for their own money. Perhaps they will not be in a position to recover anything out of you. So what they offer a debt restructuring, that okay, we are ready to say do some kind of a haircut, that well, our total debt was initially say 10 crore rupees, now we are reducing it to say 7.5 crore rupees. Now, even out of 7.5 crore rupee, you need not to pay immediately. Rather, now we are again revisiting and renegotiating the terms, and perhaps the interest rate will be brought down. The repayment period may be extended. So this is how this is. It is very much common thing. That restructuring is very much common thing, and this normally happens. But normally, this kind of a support is available to the companies where a lot of people are working. So that it's also a matter of employment. And the government of India also has a policy which is basically which support all these debt restructuring. But for an individual, it all depends. I mean, if he has some assets as a collateral that can be disposed of, but if he do not have an asset, then I'm sorry, nothing can be done. Then there is a question by Sanchi Kathuria. Sir, even if the government is taking steps, but the pandemic will lead to fall in economy, the government is providing subsidies at the same time GDP is falling. So what kind of a measure can be taken to control it at the same time? Okay, such a good question. Now see here, it all depends that, see, no longer 2008 when this subprime crisis happened in the US, it started from there and it engulfed the whole of the world. But to certain extent, India was not that much uh, hit by that, because see, we are not a very big global player. But since then, time has changed, and we are basically an important global player. So if something is happening in one part of the world, I mean, it's very unthinkable to feel that or believe that, well, it's not going to have an impact on India. So see, this is a case with all the country, and certainly this pandemic is going to, it started already hitting a lot of economies. And the subsidy providing is fine, but subsidy is okay, but even a government shall also have their own earning in tax. So probably in a piecemeal manner, perhaps government, the only thing which the government can do, that's to facilitate in terms of recovery, is that, well, your repayment period can be extended, and perhaps the taxation can be brought down, tax levels can be brought down. So these are the, see, government has, if I tell you in a little simple way, so the central government has physical policy in its hand. So it will decide the tax rates, it will collect the taxes, and then it will spend the thing. So idea is this, that well, it must bring down the taxes, but increase the spending. Now, how it can happen? When you are earning less, how you can spend more? Then of course the next resort is the borrowing, because if you have a budget to spend 100 rupee and your earning is from say 100, it has come down to 60. So there is a deficit of 40. So from where you're going to make this 40? The only thing which is available is that yes, you borrow. So government will resort to borrowing. Now it could be borrowing from the native people or maybe from the global financial institutions. It all depends.
Anurag sir, next class is at 12 only. They are waiting in the waiting room. So we need to close.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, sir. So dear, I think I've got a kind of alarm now that I have to shut down. So nice interacting with you. Though it was a monologue kind of a thing, it was not a interaction. Just I could see your faces. But let me see, I would be requesting admission team if they can provide me another lecture in coming time. Perhaps I would be in a position to finish the things. So my best wishes. And again, just to follow the lockdown and take good care of yourself. Keep studying something that's going to help you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
And guys, we'll send you all the answers through mail. And thanks for joining us. Take care of yourself. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure.